All right, mine is rolling.
Well, I'm feeling left out.
We'll power through. If everyone's died, then I'll just do it at home with family and take the penalty for it. That's okay.
That's not.
All right.
Funny.
Fellow Toastmasters, 158, the number of people who died in the Joplin tornado. 2,996, the number of people who died on 9/11. 418,500, the number of Americans who died in World War II. 60 million, the number of U.S. abortions since the year 1973. Abortion is currently legal in the United States, but should it be? This is the question we're going to be asking ourselves today, and tonight I want to advocate for the stance that all abortions should be illegal in the United States. This is a controversial topic and one that might be sensitive to some people, but as we look at this subject, we're going to examine it by answering three questions. One, what is the science of life? Two, is abortion murder? And three, what are the effects of legalized abortion in the United States and in a society in general? We'll begin with the first one then. What is the science of life? If you were to look at scientific inquiry and biological inquiry, you would find out that there's a certain number of qualifications an organism has to meet for it to be considered biologically living. And some lists will give you 7 qualifications, some 8. You'll see different things, different places. I broke out my old science biology textbook from high school, and it boiled all the categories down into 4 qualifications. We're going to walk through each of those and see where does an unborn baby fall with those qualifications. First qualification is that an organism must contain DNA. And from conception, we know that an unborn baby does have DNA within those cells. That's why it's able to grow into a fully developed human being, just through the coding and the information that is in the DNA. The second qualification is that the organism must be able to take in and use energy. And the unborn baby is able to take in energy through the mother and convert that into energy that it can use to grow. Thus, it meets the second qualification. The third one is that the unborn child must be able to respond to stimulus, which means that factors from its environment should have some kind of effect on it that it can respond to on its own. And this is also true with unborn babies. From the moment of conception, I read an article today from some medical scholars that said that we're finding out that from the earliest moments, the fetus can respond to changes in its environment and adapt accordingly depending on whatever those changes are. It is able to respond to stimulus. The fourth and final qualification is that an organism must be able to reproduce. Now this one seems a little tricky because you would think an unborn baby can't have any offspring. But think about this. When a donkey and a horse mate, they have a mule. Mules are not able to produce offspring. Does that mean mules are not alive? Of course not. Nobody would claim that. The way to get around this and to explain this is that because the cells within the mule are reproducing, that's how it's able to grow, that's how it's able to heal wounds. Because the cells reproduce, it is alive. And this is the case for an unborn child as well. Its cells are reproducing, the living cells within it are reproducing, causing it to grow, causing the organs to form and the tissue to develop. In the end then, an unborn child meets all 4 qualifications for life, and we can conclude that from the moment of conception, an unborn baby is alive. So is abortion then murder? Well, if the baby is living, and if someone were to go in there and eliminate that living being, that is equivalent to murder. And if it's equivalent to murder, it should be protected under the law. The government should be insistent on protecting all individuals, born, unborn, black, white, male or female, young or old. It should not matter. The government should be consistent in who it protects. And because unborn babies, fetuses are alive, they should be protected, and thus abortion should be illegal, given the same protection that me or anyone else here, any of you, should have. And there should be no exceptions. Some people say, well, maybe in this case, abortion should be okay, or maybe in this circumstance it's okay. They point to rape or incest or hard cases, and they point to these things and say, maybe here abortion is okay. But think about that a little more deeply. If someone's involved in a rape case, does that give them justification to go and murder somebody? If there's an incident of incest, does that give that person justification to go and murder somebody? No. If someone is in or is going to be in a hard case where they're maybe stuck in poverty or in a rough socioeconomic situation, does that give me justification to go in and eliminate them because of that? Or because I think they'll be in that position? Absolutely not. That makes no sense. These exceptions pale in comparison to the fact that this is a living human being that we're dealing with. I think, too, what Horton said, and Horton here's a who. A person is a person, no matter how small. What effect does legalized abortion have on society? 3 things let's look at. First of all, if it's murder, people die if abortion is legal and if abortions take place. Like I said at the beginning, 60 million Americans in the last 40, 50 years. That's a lot of people, a lot of life. Secondly, life becomes devalued. If killing the unborn becomes okay, is killing someone on life support okay? The lines begin to blur, and it's hard to decide where do we stop with this. Whereas you could take the hard stance and say, no, all life is valuable, all life should be protected. I don't care what it is. If they're alive, if they're a person, they deserve protection. That is the better case. And then thirdly, mothers suffer because of abortion. There's physical problems that arise, whether it's damage, physical damage, or there's increased risks of future miscarriages and risks of sterility. There's problems that arise physically, not to mention emotionally. The mothers who experience regret and guilt, the depression that some women fall into, and the suicidal tendencies that some fall into. This isn't the case for every mother who's had an abortion. That's not what I'm saying, but these are things that medically we have seen are the results from abortion. And I wouldn't want to wish this on anyone. I want to give you just a real quick testimony from one mother who had an abortion, Lori Narrett. And this is what she says, and this is slightly graphic, I understand, but at the same time it helps us understand the gravity of this topic. This is what she says, quote, 2 weeks after the abortion, I went into labor. I staggered into the bathroom, and there with my husband beside me, I delivered a part of my baby the doctor had missed. It was the head of my baby. I'll wake up in the middle of the night thinking I hear a baby crying, and I still have nightmares in which I'm forced to watch my baby being ripped apart in front of me. I simply miss my baby. I constantly wake up wanting to nurse my child, wanting to hold my child, and that's something the doctor never told me I would experience. Again, I wouldn't want to wish this on anybody, so why would I promote a society where this is legal and where this is okay? To conclude then, abortion across the board should be illegal in the United States because the unborn child is alive, deserves to be protected, and there's harms that come to society if this is allowed to continue. And I understand you may disagree. I don't hold a common popular opinion here in our society. I understand that. But listen to what Ronald Reagan put up concerning this issue. He said, I've noticed that everyone who is for abortion has already been born. And that does put it into perspective a little bit. We need to take life and see the value in life. I can conclude then that for the sake of life and for the sake of this country and the society that we're in, we should all push for abortion to be illegal in the United States of America.
Very good. Comment 9.